Hey everybody, it's Ryan from Pi Records, and I'm here with Chris from Lava Lagoon. How are you, Chris?
I'm great. How are you?
Great, great. I had the pleasure of listening to your unique singles, including the Hybrid Moments, which is my favorite Misfits song.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, it's mine too.
so tell me a little bit about your take on the surf genre. It's a little different.
Yeah, I think just as I'm getting older, there's a lot of just like kind of getting. I mean, I'm not like I haven't gotten away from my metal and punk rock roots, but I definitely feel like I've expanded my horizons musically and uh, spending a lot of time in Hawaii and really feeling those like beach vibes. I think that really got me into like surf rock and and then this like the tiki culture kind of thing, and then that led to I was just listening to some exotica music one day, and I was like, that'd be fun to do. So that's how the Lava Lagoon thing started. Um, just just kind of on a whim, like I think I could make a song that would be like really good like that, and I did the first one, and I was like, it might be a one-off. I don't know. We'll just see where it goes. So
Very cool. So you recently moved to Hawaii. Where did you move from?
I was living in Boise, Idaho, and my wife and I we came here the first time in 2008 and loved it. We were sitting at the airport in Kona, ready to go home, and I looked at her and I was like, I want to live here, and she was like, me too. And so, you know, fast forward 12 years, and we're like, we're definitely going to do this. And then this was the year we made it happen. And so yeah, it's a huge move, but we made it happen.
How is it? How is the vibe different living in Hawaii as opposed to visiting Hawaii?
Um, I think the main thing is that there are a lot more responsibilities that come with actually living here. You're not just here on vacation and in vacation mode all the time. It's like, oh, you have like bills to pay, and you have, our whole situation with like getting into our house was a nightmare. And so it was like, real life problems that creep in. But at the end of the day, I drive 10 minutes down the hill and I'm at the beach. So that's the awesome thing.
Awesome.
So, I mean, it's also, it's a huge adjustment because everything's more expensive. There are less things available, but the trade off is you got the beach every day if you want it. So,
Very cool. So back to the music. I want to know about your writing process and if you play all the instruments on it. Is it a one man show for right now?
yeah. So basically, what I do is I make an all in garage band. So, like, I try to make it sound as real as possible because I do come from that like metal and punk rock background where all the music is real, and so when I make music that has the feel of real instruments, I want it to really encompass that. Um, so that's a big thing to me, but really it just comes down to when I'm in the mode, when I'm in the vibe, I just like go with it, and I start listening to kind of lay out one part, and then I'm just listening to it over and over until the next part kind of comes to me. And so right now I've got three songs that I've got started, um, and I just kind of I haven't had the time or you know patience or whatever to just sit down and just let the next part come to me. But so there are at least three more songs coming at some point.
And I noticed that they were the two so far were released through uh, Alternative State of Reverb, Altered State of Reverb with Josh. How did you
Right.
guys hook up with him?
That was actually so I have another project because I'm a huge horror fan, and so I have another project that is like 80s horror soundtrack style stuff called Werewolves in Siberia. And he started following me on Instagram on my Werewolves in Siberia Instagram, and he bought a shirt, and we started talking back and forth. He's like, "Oh yeah, this is really cool stuff," and he was just starting the. It was like a surf promotion kind of thing at the time. He didn't have the label going or anything, but he was just promoting anything surf rock, and I was really getting into that sort of thing too. So I think we just had this mutual like connection of like that punk rock vibe and the horror thing and the surf rock, and it just like kind of we became friends that way, and we had a lot of the same interests and everything. So when I started this thing, I just sent him a message and I was like, "Hey, I don't know if you're interested because it's more exotic, it's not surf, but it's kind of in the same vein, you know. So do you want to release this?" Because I mean, these days anybody can release anything themselves. It's pretty easy, but I like that community of what he's got, and plus the reach, you know, and so we it was super easy to work with him. Like it just everything just felt right. It wasn't like dealing with some other record label that, you know, I've dealt with plenty of record labels that, you know, just don't want to go down that road, you know. But with him, it's like he's a fan of the music, and it's the music first. It's not I need to make a bunch of money, you know. So it was just really cool, really easy, and it all started from my horror project. So
So
yeah,
tell me a little bit more about
that's where it was.
tell me more about the horror project.
So that one, I hadn't played music for several years. Um, I was always playing in punk bands, metal bands, hardcore bands, and as life goes on and you get older, you know, you can't. It's too hard to make those schedules work, and you have infighting with other people, and it's like it just gets to be old. And when the band Zombie, I don't know if you're familiar with them. Um,
No.
I got a Relapse Records sampler, and they stood out because they sounded like Goblin, and it's just a duo, just synths and a drummer, and Steve Moore plays the synths, but he also plays bass. And when I first heard their song that was on this sampler, I was like, that was the song that I listened to all the time. I was like, that is awesome. One day when I can do a whole project by myself, I want to do something like that. And so that was kind of the catalyst of it. Was always in the back of my mind. I wanted to do something like that. And so fast forward to, I think it was 2013. I hadn't been playing in bands, and I started doing some acoustic stuff, and I got the GarageBand program just on my phone just to like record some acoustic stuff. And I started looking around in the app, and there are all these synths in there. So I started messing around with those and playing stuff. I was like, I can do this project now. So that's how that started. And since, you know, it was 2 weeks of just messing around with stuff, and I had my first 7-song album done, and I released it within that first month of starting the project. And it was cool because it was just me. I didn't have to bounce ideas off of anybody else. And so it was just like this cool, fun thing. And from there, I just kept doing it. I was just so interested in this new way of making music. And so that was a big thing, and always wanting it to sound like some kind of scene from a horror movie. And I kind of just let the song dictate kind of what I think the song should be called and that sort of thing. And yeah, I've got tons of releases, lots of singles, lots of albums, because I'm on my own timeline, so I can just do whatever I want. And that's, I haven't done anything for a while. While everybody's making music during the pandemic, I kind of froze up, and I did the Lava Lagoon thing as like this completely different thing. I think everything was so chaotic. I was like, oh, I want some laid back beach vibes. So I've got a lot of stuff started for some more Werewolves in Siberia, but yeah, same thing as the Lava Lagoon thing. I just need some time to sit down and like let everything process through my brain and get settled in a new place and all that.
The horror element and the tiki element are both parts of surf, the surf sound in
Right.
subgenre wise. Why do you think those two things stand out? Is it the aesthetic, or is it the ambient sound?
That's a good question. I don't really know. 'Cause I know when I first started listening to a lot of surf music, it was older surf, and it was very much more like kind of just kind of a takeoff of garage rock almost, you know, and it didn't have a lot of that horror vibe. But I think the newer stuff, like I'd come across something every once in a while, it'd be like it'd have a horror theme, and that always really spoke to me. And I think that tiki culture, because it's more, maybe because it's more kind of based in like dark jungly things, and it's just darker with blasts of bright colors, you know, like maybe that's the aesthetic that people like, that kind of brings it into surf now, because there's so much of that tiki culture. And I mean, you look at the awesome artists that are making the tiki culture art, and there's a lot of monster stuff. And so I think that just little things have crept in to make that a big part of surf rock now.
Very cool. And that answers my question, because I've been asking a lot of people about how the tiki culture and the tiki element kind of fits into surf, and you're the first one that kind of put it into perspective for me.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what it is, at least to me. I think you know, you go to a tiki bar and it's always dark, and so it just has that like kind of underground vibe. And I think the horror always has that underground thing, and the punk rock. So I think there's a lot of that it just kind of swells from underneath, and it just works.
So what kind of I'm interested in gear. What kind of guitar do you prefer to play through?
I love Gibson SGs. As far as, I mean, there's something different from every guitar company. I've got an Epiphone acoustic I really like. I've got a Schecter from when Schecter first like started making stuff called a Devil. I don't think they make it anymore, but I love that guitar. That's a great one for like hardcore music and punk rock. But yeah, I feel like there's definitely like good stuff for metal, you know, Ibanez and Jackson for metal, and like Guild and Fender for like surf rock or blues and stuff like that. I really want to get my hands on a Fender Jaguar right now to actually start playing some surf, like more traditional like surf rock kind of stuff. That I've kicked around the idea of like, do I keep that as Lava Lagoon because it's still in the same vein, or do I let Lava Lagoon be its own thing? who knows? But when it comes to actually recording guitar, I've been a bit lazy since I started doing all this electronic stuff. And I'll get on kicks again, like every once in a while. And like, I really want to do a really kind of stoner rock, kind of super heavy, kind of metal vibe kind of thing too. And I've got an Ibanez that's tuned down, like basically like a baritone guitar, to that I started doing a song and then we had to get ready to move. So everything got packed away. But I've got a song that's started at least. So we'll see if that ever sees the light of day. But yeah, I feel like different guitars for different genres, like there's not really a wrong guitar. You just have to play it the right way and for the right genre. So
Right. What are some of the bands that you've been in, punk rock and metal wise, that we might have heard of?
Probably none of them. The biggest band that that was really close to really making something happen was a band called Stacked. And if the spelling could really set the timeline, it was spelled STAKT. So late 90s, early 2000s, kind of new metal. We had a lot of, I was so influenced by hardcore music and punk rock music that we had a lot of those elements, but it was also very new metal and had those like grooves that a lot of new metal had. But that band was, we signed with a management company and we had a showcase for a bunch of record labels at the Whiskey. And we were really close and we could not get along with our manager. And it was very obvious when we were doing that music was only part of the music business, and it's kind of not the most important part to everybody else. And we got great reviews from all the labels there, but it was one of those things where they said, this is one of the best bands we've ever heard. The live show was amazing. I didn't hear a radio song though. And it was one of those things like, and our manager was like, go home and write a radio song. Like, we have radio songs, but we wanted to be all balls out, like, yeah. And so it's like, if you want to do your job, then we could probably get signed. But at this point, you just want to make a shitload of money. And we just want to play music. And we were kind of, the band fizzled out after that. We just stopped talking to the management guy altogether. It was like, he could make it work if he wanted it to, but we don't want to do something just to do it, just so we could be that band. And then, if they don't like somebody's attitude, you get shelved and they just write you off, and it's like, there were so many negatives there that we just, and we had worked so hard that it was like, we just couldn't do that anymore. So we took a break and never got back to it. But that was probably the biggest one in terms of, we were pretty big locally in Boise. People hated us because we flyer the hell out of everything. And if they know who you are, it's the same thing anywhere, if people know who you are and you're constantly bombarding people with things, there are people that are just going to hate it no matter what. They don't even have to hear it. They just know that they hate you. So we were good at doing that. But then after that is like, I did a band called Cry Havoc that was way more kind of death metal influenced. And I just did vocals there, like screaming and growling. And I wanted less responsibility. I just wanted to take a step back and not be writing everything. And then I started a record label, and I was doing things for other bands for a change. And I had a showcase for, any band touring or not, whatever. Every Monday night we had a punk Monday. And so I was booking punk rock bands from all over the country to come to Boise, Idaho on a Monday night. And sometimes we had a big show. The craziest one was the Dwarves.
Oh yeah.
that was just insane. It was just crazy, well over capacity, and there were so many illegal things happening in so many corners of that building, um, that it was like just you just wait for the cops to show up. And I think that was the show that at one point they did show up. They did a walkthrough and they left us alone, so that was good. But yeah, I had a couple big bands, but it was really cool. There was a lot of community at that point in the Boise scene, and then when I started playing music again, I was doing a hardcore band called Enzugiri, and I thought that it was maybe I didn't want to push my own band at the same time as I'm pushing all these other bands. Felt like there was a little bit of a conflict of interest, and so I was losing interest in doing the label. I made some choices of like, well, do I put this out because these guys have a draw, or do I put this out because I actually like it? You know, and there was a lot of going back and forth with that sort of dilemma. And I was putting out some stuff that I didn't necessarily want to put out, but I felt like maybe I could make some money putting it out. And so when you start making decisions like that, it's like, maybe my heart's not in it. So I went back to playing music, and I sold the label and did that band for a couple years, and then that was it with my bands. That band fizzled out in 2009, and so that kind of left a void in my playing live music. So
So what was the label called?
it was called 1332 Records. It was my idea behind it was to have a horror themed label, and I wanted, because I was so into metal and punk rock, I wanted both genres. But I found that there wasn't a whole lot of I couldn't find a lot of metal that was, you know, in the lower underground scenes more, that had that vibe that I was looking for. So I ended up focusing more on punk rock, and but it was also really hard to do a strictly horror theme, you know, with a lot of bands just want to sound like the Misfits, and I'll be honest, most of them don't do a very good job. So it was one of those things where like you'd find a really cool horror themed band like Calabrese. I don't know if you're familiar with them, but I did distro for them when their first album came out, and I kept trying to get them to come play my Punk Monday, and they would just tour kind of around the Arizona area where they were from. And then when I finally did like meet up with them years later, I found out that, you know, the drummer was like 15 at the time, so they couldn't have been playing at the bar anyway. But they're a really good horror themed band. Started out very punk rock. Now they're a little more death rock, but still really, really good. And but it's hard to find that kind of band when you're looking for something so specific as like a horror themed thing. So it ended up being more just like a punk rock label. I think it's still around, but on a much smaller scale. Just kind of, I think when the new owner wants to put something out, he'll put it out, but it's really few and far between these days.
That's very interesting history you have, um, involved in all types of music. How do you think you wound up, and when did you discover your interest in being involved with surf music?
I think it really started after, you know, 2008 or so, when we came to Hawaii. And I think it was little by little, because at one point I was like, I thought surf rock was stupid, you know. I was like, whatever. And a lot of punk rock friends I knew were really into surf rock, and I was like, why are you into that? Like, you like punk rock, but you like surf rock? Like, I don't get the whole thing, you know. And then over time, I think it's just one of those things that like you hear Miser Lou or Miser Lou a couple times, and and it's like, that's a really good song, and maybe I'll make it was the days of the Pandora radio, and you make one little station, and then you find a lot of bands that are similar, and
Yeah.
I think that really got me into it. And then the last couple of years, just even more so. I think we started coming to Hawaii like every year, just about, and spending more and more time here in that beach thing. And it's funny because surf rock really isn't a big thing here, at least not on the Big Island where we're at. It's definitely more like the Hawaiian style reggae, that super laid back vibe. But I think surf has that little more, that edge, that like kind of punk rockiness that I think does kind of like speak to me that much more. And it's like, I really like the laid back thing. And I think that's why Lava Lagoon has been so nice and kind of like easing for me. It eases my soul a little bit, mellows me out. But I like that grittiness of that fast surf guitar, and
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, totally. I was talking about earlier today with a friend about Agent Orange, and that totally bridges the gap there, I would say.
Yeah, they were awesome. The first time we came to Hawaii, our friend that lives in Hilo, native Hawaiian, and he was the one who talked us into coming. And we're like, we're never going to go to Hawaii. We can't do that. Like, we're just mainland people, Hawaii is not something that people like us ever actually do, and he's like, no, you got to come. And finally we're like, okay, we're going to come. And we're hanging out with him. And I was kind of telling him about, I was in Enzugiri at the time, and I was telling him about that band. And he's like, oh yeah, I like a lot of old punk rock. I was a skater back in the day, and we listened to a lot of Agent Orange. And I was like, oh, that's cool. And I hadn't really heard them at the time. I knew of them, but just the last couple of years, I actually really started listening to them. It's like that surf rock is a huge influence on that band.
Oh yeah.
All their super surfy guitar solos and everything. And it was like, like you said, it's a perfect like marriage of surf and punk rock.
Yeah, totally. So you have new songs that you've worked out for Lava Lagoon, is that correct?
Yeah, they're not done. I've got good starts on 3. 2 of them are a little bit darker. It's, I guess, a little bit more like kind of tribal jungle sound. And one is very much more like laid back, let the birds sing. And so I just basically, I've got the starts on those, and I don't have a next section for anything. So I've just got to get to a point where I can just relax and kind of soak in the music and see what comes next. So, hopefully it's soon, because I'd really like to release something new, but it's been so chaotic around here. And, like I was telling you before we started this, that I don't have any of my own stuff here, like whatever we could fit in suitcases is all we've got. And then, like I have this background because I don't have a tiki hutch or anything. And so nothing cool. So, like there's just a blank wall behind me. I've got one tiki mug that I bought like a week ago at a little shop here. And, I do have some lava. Oh, it's not going to work, huh? Because my background. What if I do that?
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, some little coasters. So when my coffee table gets here, I got some Lava Lagoon coasters to go on. But yeah, so just waiting for things to kind of chill out a little bit, and then I can really focus on making some new music and finishing those songs.
can we expect any comps or CDs or vinyl coming from you?
I think that will kind of be up to probably Altered State of Reverb, if he wants to do something like that. I would definitely love to be included on a comp or something. Vinyl is always kind of like it feels like you've really made it if somebody puts out your stuff on vinyl. I know that I can't afford to get vinyl pressed, especially after moving to a place like Hawaii, but that's always been a big thing. Like with Werewolves in Siberia, I had a couple of cassettes done through a label that has since kind of disbanded, but that was cool. Like it kind of having a physical format definitely helps make you feel a little bit more established, and it looks that way in other people's eyes, I think. But as far as vinyl, like I had one label that was ready to go with a 7-inch, and we had some issues, some legality issues with somebody thinking that I was trying to put out something I wasn't, like something from an existing movie.
Oh,
And I think that kind of scared off the label from actually putting out the project. And so that would have been really cool. It would have been a really good foot in the door. But it seemed like vinyl was the only thing that the horror soundtrack fans who listen to my stuff really were interested in. And it's the most expensive way to go. So
yeah.
I'm definitely, I would love to have it happen with Lava Lagoon. I actually talked to another Altered State of Reverb band about possibly doing a split. And so that could be something that if it's more than one song, maybe a record label is more likely to want to put that out. But we haven't really discussed anything like that so far. So we'll see what happens, I guess.
Very cool. Very cool. I'm glad you were able to keep your sanity staying busy during the pandemic.
Oh yeah, I was plenty busy while everybody else was. I mean, yeah, I watched Tiger King like everybody else, but it was stressful. But I was pretty much, especially at the beginning of it when things were closing down, I was busy. So I had no time for music really at that point until I think I just had that epiphany to do something completely different than what I was doing and go that laid back Lava Lagoon route. So
And it worked out really well. It's really like I said, I've never heard a bad version of Hybrid Moments, but
right.
but it's almost lullaby-ish.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
and
It's like it's one of those things where I think you hear it, and if you don't know what song it is, it's like, why do I know this? And then it's, oh, this is the Misfits. Okay. I did a couple Werewolves of Siberia versions of a couple Misfits songs that I just put up for free on the Bandcamp page, and I feel like just about any band that I had like full control in, I always got Misfits songs in there. But it wasn't until Werewolves in Siberia that it was like, I can completely change the sound of this. You can tell what it is, but it sounds like a completely different genre. I'm not just doing another Misfits version of a Misfits song,
right.
And so I think when I started this, it was actually, I think Josh was like, hey, since you're really into horror, do you have any ideas for like a horror themed Tiki song for Halloween? And I was like, I could do a Misfits cover. I could do Hybrid Moments in that style, and that would be awesome. He's like, yeah, let's do it. And so it's like, all right, it's on. So I
Awesome.
think having that like thing where I had somebody like kind of wanting to release it, and there was kind of a date there set, it made me focus on it. And so I knocked it out pretty quick. It was super fun.
And it's kind of cool having somebody validate what you do.
Right, right. That's always a plus.
Awesome. So before we go, I want people to know how to get in contact with you. Instagram, Facebook, or Bandcamp.
Yeah. Yeah, all the music is on Bandcamp. It's also on the Altered State of Reverb. I can't even talk now. Their site, which I think just links back to Bandcamp. It's on Spotify, all the streaming services. But if you want to download it, I think Bandcamp is the way to go, or iTunes or whatever. And then, yeah, as far as actually like contacting me, I don't look at my Instagram feed a whole lot on the Lava Lagoon one, but if I get a message or whatever, I get it, and I will respond. So yeah, that's that or Facebook are definitely good ways to actually get a hold of me or see what I'm up to. When I do have something going, it's going to be on Instagram for sure.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Chris. I really enjoyed hearing your story.
Yeah, thank you.
You have an interesting background, and I'm glad I got to talk to you.
Yeah, this was fun. I haven't done something like this for Lava Lagoon, aside from a talk with Josh from Altered State of Reverb on Instagram. So yeah, it's really cool. I'm glad that you're interested in the music. It's really cool that, when I hear cool things from people who like actually are into this whole thing, and it's really cool to talk to you.
Yeah, very cool. I'm all in, man. I can't wait to hear the new songs.
Awesome.
Cool. All right. You have a great night, and thank you so much.
Great. Thanks, you too.